Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids for free while I work from home? I 20AF work from home as a graphic designer. It's a pretty demanding job, and I have strict deadlines that keep me glued to my computer most days. I love my job, but it requires a lot of focus and creativity, so any distractions can really mess up my productivity. My sister, Lucy 31F, is a single mom to 2 kids, ages 4 and 6. A few months ago, she got a new full-time job and was scrambling to find childcare. She asked if I could help out by babysitting the kids on weekdays while she was at work. Lucy knows I work from home, and I guess she figured since I'm home all day anyway, it wouldn't be a big deal to watch the kids too. At first, I hesitated because I knew how much focus I need for my job, but I understood that childcare can be expensive and I wanted to help her out. Plus, Lucy assured me that she would pay me for my time, so I agreed to try it out for a few weeks. We didn't put anything in writing, but we had a clear verbal agreement that I'd be paid for the hours I spent watching the kids. The first week was rough. The kids are great, don't get me wrong, but they're kids loud, energetic, and constantly needing attention. It was impossible to focus on my work with them around. I had to pause what I was doing multiple times to break up arguments, get them snacks, or entertain them when they got bored. By the end of the day, I was behind on my deadlines and exhausted. Still, I figured it was just an adjustment period, and I tried to make it work. I reorganized my schedule, working later into the night to make up for lost time during the day. The second week was a little better, but the distractions were still constant. By the end of that week, I was mentally drained, but I figured I'd stick it out for Lucy's sake. I assumed I'd be compensated, so it would at least make the extra work worth it. Then came the issue of payment. When I brought it up at the end of the second week, Lucy got weirdly defensive. She said she couldn't afford to pay me right away because her paycheck hadn't come in yet, but she promised to settle up next week. I trusted her, so I didn't press the issue. By the third week, though, nothing had changed. I reminded her again about the payment, and she got even more evasive. That's when she dropped the bombshell. She expected me to watch the kids for free. Lucy said that since I'm their aunt and I work from home anyway, it shouldn't be a big deal for me to help her out as family. She argued that paying me would just be money out of the family's pocket and that it wasn't fair for me to expect compensation. I was floored. I love my nieces, but babysitting them while working full-time is a huge disruption to my job. I can't focus with them running around, and I've had to push back deadlines, which is affecting my income. When I explained this to her, she acted like I was being selfish. She said that other people help their families out for free all the time and that I should be willing to do the same for her. I told her I wouldn't be able to babysit anymore unless we stuck to the original plan of her paying me. She accused me of putting money over family and said I was letting her down when she needed me the most. We had a big argument, and now she's not speaking to me. My parents have even weighed in, saying that I should help her out because she's a single mom and struggling right now and they can't take care of the kids since I live closer to my sister. They think I'm being unreasonable by asking for money, but they don't understand how much it's impacting my work. I feel like I'm stuck in a no-win situation here. So, am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids for free while I work from home? I just think there's other solutions to our problem, and I don't see how I am the asshole in this situation, but I might be biased. Update: I took some advice from the comments and tried to reach out to Lucy for a calm, face-to-face conversation. After a few days of her ignoring my calls, she finally agreed to meet up. I went in hoping we could talk things through, clear the air, and maybe find a solution that worked for both of us. But as soon as I sat down, I could tell something was off. Lucy wasn't apologetic like I expected. In fact, she looked more angry than when we had the argument about babysitting. Right away, she hit me with something I didn't see coming. "I know what you've been doing," she said, staring at me with a cold expression. Confused, I asked her what she meant. That's when she pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots. Apparently, she had found out through mutual friends that I had been venting about the situation on social media, but Lucy had twisted the whole thing in her head. She believed I wasn't just looking for advice, but that I was purposely trying to turn our family and friends against her by making her look like a bad mother. She accused me of going behind her back to sabotage her reputation, telling people she was a terrible parent and even suggesting that I wanted to take her kids away from her. I was floored. That couldn't have been further from the truth. Sure, I had talked about the babysitting situation with a few close friends, but I never said anything to make her look bad. I explained that to her, but she wasn't having it. That's what this has been about all along, hasn't? You think you could do a better job raising them, don't you? She snapped. I was speechless. It felt like I was in some alternate reality. I'd always supported her, and now she was accusing me of trying to replace her? I told her I would never think that, but she was so deep into her paranoia, she didn't want to hear it. Then came the final blow. Lucy said she'd already made other arrangements for childcare because she couldn't trust me anymore. She went on to tell me that she didn't want me around her kids anymore at all. She said I was toxic and that she'd prefer if I didn't come to family events if the kids were there. She wasn't just cutting me out of the babysitting arrangement, she was cutting me out of their lives. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I sat there in shock, trying to process everything. I didn't even know how to respond. My own sister was accusing me of betraying her and treating me like a threat to her family. All I wanted was some basic respect for my time and work, and now she was completely shutting me out. I left the cafe in tears, still stunned by what had just happened. I couldn't believe our relationship had deteriorated so quickly over something that started with a simple babysitting agreement. A few days later, I got a call from my mom. She told me that Lucy had told the rest of the family her version of events, that I was trying to undermine her as a mother and that I'd been trash-talking her behind her back. My parents were caught in the middle. They didn't know who to believe, but my mom was upset and asked why I hadn't come to her sooner. I tried to explain, but the damage was already done. My family was fractured over this, and it seemed like nothing I said would fix it. Now, I'm left wondering if I'll ever be able to mend things with Lucy. We haven't spoken since that day at the cafe, and I've been uninvited from all family gatherings involving the kids. It's heartbreaking because I love my nieces, but Lucy won't even let me see them. All this over a few weeks of unpaid babysitting. I'm not sure where things go from here. I don't know if Lucy will ever see reason or if she's too far gone into her own version of events. All I know is that this has caused a rift in our family that might never heal. Second update. After days of barely speaking to my sister and the tension hanging over our family like a storm cloud, my parents decided it was time for all of us to sit down and talk. They didn't want the family to keep drifting apart over this, especially since I hadn't been able to see my nieces at all. Lucy had been avoiding me, and I was still hurt by everything she said, but I agreed to meet up. If there was any chance of fixing things, I wanted to try. We met at my parents' house, the four of us, me, Lucy, and my parents sitting awkwardly around the kitchen table. No one really knew where to start, so my mom took the lead. She asked both of us to explain what had happened from our own perspectives without interrupting each other. It felt more like a mediation than a conversation at first, but it was better than the cold silence we'd had for weeks. When it was my turn, I told Lucy again that I never intended to hurt her or make her feel like I was trying to turn people against her. I explained how I'd only posted on Reddit because I needed advice and had been feeling trapped between helping her and managing my own workload. Then, in a bit of a bold move, I suggested that we go through some of the comments on my Reddit post together. Lucy was hesitant at first, but after some convincing, she agreed. I pulled up the post and started reading aloud some of the comments, ones that pointed out how stressful it must have been for both of us, how it wasn't wrong to ask for payment, but also how Lucy might have felt overwhelmed as a single mom trying to make things work. I wanted her to see that I wasn't the villain here, but I also acknowledged that the situation was difficult for her too. As we read more of the comments, Lucy's attitude started to shift. I could see the tension leaving her body as she listened. It seemed like hearing strangers talk about her situation helped her step back and see it from a different perspective. After a while, she sighed and said, "I didn't realize how stressed out I've been until all this exploded. I'm sorry, I took it out on you." I didn't expect her to apologize so openly. She admitted that she'd been overwhelmed by work, the kids, and feeling like she had no support. The pressure had made her defensive, and she lashed out at me because she felt like she was drowning. She told me she had read too much into my venting to friends, convincing herself I was turning everyone against her when, in reality, it was her own stress talking. Hearing her say that lifted a weight off my shoulders. I told her I understood that she was under a lot of pressure, but that didn't make what she said or did okay. She agreed and said she regretted cutting me off from the kids. "I should have come to you sooner instead of letting it get this bad," she said. We both acknowledged that while the apology was a good first step, our relationship hadn't fully recovered. It's not something that can be fixed overnight. There's still a lot of hurt on both sides, and we're going to need time to rebuild the trust we lost. The good news is, I'll be able to see my nieces again. We worked out a new arrangement where our parents will stay with Lucy to babysit the kids while Lucy looks for a proper daycare. That way, the kids are cared for, Lucy has some breathing room, and I can keep my focus on my work without being dragged back into the situation. I'll still spend time with my nieces, but on my terms, not as a full-time babysitter. It's not a perfect solution, and it'll take time for things to feel normal again between me and Lucy, but for now, at least we're trying. We both realized that this situation wasn't just about babysitting, it was a reflection of deeper issues, stress, and misunderstandings. Hopefully, with time and effort, we can move forward as a family and heal from this.